Hello everyone, my name is Folashade Daluma, and today the title of my presentation is The Impact of Race and Region in the Incidence of Heir Property in Alabama. Here is a quick outline of how the presentation will go. We'll go through the introduction, statement of problem, keywords, literature review, methodology, results, and then we will discuss some recommendations. So, as my colleague earlier stated, land ownership basically has a lot of benefits, and four of which I really care about is freedom, security, economic stability, and political power. As for freedom, basically, you have more freedom when you own your land, and independence, the level of independence that you can otherwise not gain from any other source. Security, the security you gain from the land, and also this can spur economic stability in any given county or community. And also this gives political power, because back in the civil rights days, you had to have a land to be able to vote. Also, land ownership supports a lot of cultural, traditional values. Whether it's owning a home, starting a business, farming on the land to survive, all these are cultural, traditional cultural values that you can get from owning a land. Looking at history of land laws among African Americans, we know that land ownership has been a privilege denied, stolen, and lost for many rural communities in the South. So, looking at this land ownership and its limitation, we began to ask ourselves whether race and region have any impact on intergenerational land transfer and therefore long-term individual and community wealth. Moving on to the literature review, there are a couple of few keywords and concepts I would like to define before we go further. Community. Community basically is the accumulation of social and political and economic capital, therefore creating a close-knit capital and integration setting. Next, look at the culture, the transmission of knowledge over generation that includes the value of individual families. Next, security. The land becomes a safe haven for those who are on the land and those who are far away, because there's a kind of connection between the owners of the land, the heirs of the land, to the land. So what is heir property and how does it differ from titled property? Heir property is basically a land passed down to family members without a clear will. And later, it becomes community owned by both known or unknown family members. Next, or in contrast, title property refers to land that is legally sold, so the name is on the deed, so it's cleared, and it doesn't have most of the limitation that you come across with heir property. While doing our research, we came up with the fact that a lot of counties that we're looking at didn't have the same classification for heir property. Even though they were talking about the same thing, they had different terminologies that they used. We found that they use etal and estate. Etal just means simply an artist, and estate just means some kind of planning, but there's not necessarily a clear title. Going further, we know based on research that property has been, previous research, heir property has been hypothesized that the incidence of heir property among African Americans is significantly higher than any other race. And I would argue that this is based on the long history of racism in this country. However, we're also aware that some Caucasian in the Appalachian poor are also affected. Moving on to the data collection, we were able to collect data from the GIS website from all the counties. And we combined all this data in our Tuskegee GIS lab. And then we conducted a comparative analysis of this data between 6 counties, 6 black counties and white collar counties. And here is this picture of the study area of the whole of Alabama. So the the top part of the graph shows the white collar county. And then the one we've analyzed, because we originally started with the purpose of analyzing 10, but because of difficulties in collecting data, we've been able to collect 6 for the white county, which are in the yellow color, and then the blue are those that are still being analyzed. For the black counties, we have the red are the ones that have already been analyzed. And if you're wondering why there's a blank spot in between these two, that's Montgomery, and it's really not considered a rural area because it's the state capital. Moving on to our results, here is the national average. And the reason why we chose these two counties, Macon and Weston, to discuss for this analysis is because Macon is on the extreme. It has they are on both extremes. For Macon, we have 81% of African American descent, while for Winston we have 0.8. And if you look at the per capita income, is also very low, which is at 18,000. For Macon, similarly, Winston is 19. When you compare that to the national average or the state average, we see that they are very low. So they are both poor communities. So for the Macon County, the land value is at 25,000, and then the improved value is at 12. The land value is at 25 million, while the improved value is at 12 million. And I just want you to look at the improved value because I'm going to show you the figure for the Winston, which is another poor state, a poor county, but the only difference is that it's a white collar county. So the difference is in the improved value. They have 28 million, whereas the other one had about 12 million. So there's a big difference between this. So we wonder why is there this disparity. So that made us go further to look at the 6 counties for the Black Belt and the white collar counties. And then we see similar results, and we're actually shocked at it. The improved value for Black Belt is at 21 million, and for white collar county is at 152 million, which means they have been able to make more improvements in their own passes. And why is this so? Why is this occurring? And that's about 8 times. Just to show you a graphic view of it, here they are side by side for the white collar county and the black collar county. For the again, for the improved value, it's at 152 million, while for the black collar county, we have 21 million. So what can we conclude for this? First, hair property is still a problem, and it's important that we still keep it in the discussion so that we can get the word out there. Also, we understand that the hair property is creating the origination of community and has created family land and ties, but no generational wealth. Also, we found that there's no uniform way that this county classify hair property. So as for recommendations, I would like to say first that I wish I could say there was only one answer to hair property and its limitation, but there isn't. But there is a way we can start. There's a way we can all contribute and do something to this. First, starting at the county level, the tax assessor's office, we recommend that they have a uniform way of classifying hair titles so that it can make it easier for people to essentially identify hair property and also be able to know if it's a dead capital or not. Next, we'll also, because right here at Tuskegee, we have a good extension program, and we're represented in a lot of counties around in Alabama. So what we do, the research we do, we also present it to them, and they take it out to the community and make sure the word is out there and everybody is being educated on what we do. That, okay, there is a new thing, they're just encouraging farm owners, land owners, hair property owners, that there's a need for you to come together and clear the title so that improvement can be made on the land. So that's one thing that we do at Tuskegee through our extension program. And also, we also know that there's need for more further research to be able to really quantify the impacts of property and title property versus title property. And if you're asking, what is my own impact? My own impact will be that I will be standing side by side with the tax assessor's office to make sure that, okay, they are able to identify all this debt capital and be able to reach out to the family members and do what is needed to be done in. And making sure that we also educate people, going to outreaches, going to conferences, presenting our results, and showing people that this is what is happening and this is where you can make an income for yourself. So here are my references, and I'd like to acknowledge the people from the Macon County Tax Revenue Commissioner, and also Mr. Craig Babs, our advisor, Dr. Zabar, my colleagues that we all worked on this paper together. Kara Woods is here, and 2 other people are not here. And everybody, thank you for listening.
Question and answer.
Yes, sir.
One question.
Yes, sir.
Interesting study, I think, is this is a study that needs to be done in a lot of places.
Thank you.
I'll just be curious to know that how do you compare the commercial lands in each one of the counties, the agricultural land, the quality of the soil, whether or not is land that just have trees on it, or is it land that's been used for farming? So those are some things that I think would be good to know when you're making that comparison and when you're trying to say that, there's a disparity. There's an issue with how you qualify, one set of land to another set of land.
Thank you very much. And that's an issue, because even if you have timber and you can't access the value from the timber because you have to get everybody to agree,